Hello again. Some people commenting here have asked me quite reasonably why I seem to be obsessed with skin colour. The answer is that I'm reacting to modern culture. It's only in recent decades that I've seen a lot of mention of black culture and white privilege, and the two subjects seem to appear more and more both in my morning newspaper and also on the internet. This is not a situation of my making, but I don't see why I should ignore it, especially since much of what is being said is damaging to society, injurious to Britain, and extremely irritating into the bargain. Two news items in the last couple of days should illustrate the nature of the problem and also explain why many of my videos are about this subject. The first of these news items is almost beyond belief. As viewers might know, a belated sequel has been made to the 1980s film Top Gun. The RAF wanted to send one of their pilots to a press event which was connected with the release of the film. A brilliant chance for the RAF to ride on the coattails of the Hollywood movie and get a little publicity for themselves. The leadership of the RAF sent an email to all units trying to find a pilot who would attend. Here is what the email said. Gents, do any of you have a pilot who is preferably not white male who would like to be the RAF face at a press event from the release of Top Gun 2? Perhaps those who accuse me of being obsessed with race and skin colour would like to hear that again. Pilot who is preferably not white male. Britain's Royal Air Force is actually ashamed of the fact that white men are serving in the Air Force and hope to conceal this fact by sending a black person, hopefully a woman, to represent them at an international press conference. And I'm the one who is preoccupied with skin colour and ethnicity? I don't think so. In the description to this video, I give a link to a news article about this shocking business. I probably do not need to remind viewers about the role of white males in the Battle of Britain and so on. The Ministry of Defence have apologised for causing offence in this way, but they're a bunch of damned liars. I say this with perfect assurance because somebody working at the Ministry of Defence has lately sent me some documents which I used in training the armed forces in diversity with the avowed intention of decolonising the British Army. I shall be publishing some of them on here in due course, and they include a long, supposedly academic paper in which whiteness is described as a psychosis which must be cured. Please don't tell me that it is I who have skin colour on the brain. The second of the news items I want to talk about is quite funny. Well, funny if you find justifying antisocial behaviour on the grounds that it is part of black culture, that is. In the Market Square in Maida Hill, North London, local residents have been plagued for a long time with the bad behaviour of those who hang out there. There is drug dealing, people swinging bottles of alcohol and pissing up the walls of other folks' houses, and a lot of shouting and noise. As a result, Westminster Council obtained an injunction forbidding the drinking of alcohol and social gatherings in the area. The neighbours were very pleased about this, of course. But wait, a challenge has been mounted at the Central London County Court on the grounds that this is racial discrimination. It seems that, and I quote from what the barrister acting for black people told the court, the majority of those whose behaviour is constrained by the force of the application share a protected characteristic, race. Of course, some of us have long suspected that being noisy is part of traditional black culture, but now a barrister acting for a group of Caribbeans has confirmed that this is indeed the case. It seems that a bunch of West Indians meet to play dominoes in the square, and they are unable to do so without shouting, swearing, and banging their dominoes down loudly enough to cause echoes across the open space. One of those who has hired the barrister to fight for their right to make a nuisance of themselves in public, Ernest Theophili from the Dominican Republic, says that if you are West Indian, you just can't play dominoes without making a bit of noise. Well, some of us remember dominoes as a peaceful and relaxed kind of game, but it appears that this view of the case is racist. Black people cannot play the game without a lot of shouting and banging about to such an extent that at least one family has apparently had to move from their home. Let me quote again from what the barrister, alleging that Westminster Council were behaving in a racist fashion by trying to suppress antisocial behaviour in this area, told the court. Mr. Theophile is permitted to go to the square to play dominoes, but he would have to do it very quietly and in a way which is completely contrary to how he's used to playing the game. As far as I can make out, here is a black man who is saying that he is unable to control himself to the extent that he can stop shouting, banging about, and annoying the neighbours. But that's okay because it is part of his culture to behave in this way, and anybody who objects is being racist. I give a link to a news item about this case in the description to this video. It may prove reassuring for those of you who had long suspected that making a lot of noise in public was a particular trait of black people and suppressed the thought at once for fear of being racist. It seems that you were right all along, at least according to this barrister hired by a black man. As I said at the beginning of this video, it is not me who is obsessed with skin colour and ethnicity. When the Royal Air Force doesn't want a white man to represent them, and a black man claims that it is part of his culture to make a racket in public and disturb other people, I can hardly remain silent. It does not, however, indicate any racial prejudice on my part, more a fascination with the sheer loopiness of modern Britain. The thumbnail to this video shows the man who cannot play dominoes without making a row. He is outside the Royal Courts of Justice in London in this picture, standing up for his right, as part of his black culture, to make a lot of noise in public.